Chuck Grassley reads a new statement that Mark Judge has sent in. By the way, Mark Judge has not been called in for questions with the FBI. He has not been called in for anything. The Republican Party does not care. So Mark Judge sends in a letter. The first letter he sent in was signed by his lawyer. This one apparently was signed by him, saying that, oh, I am putting down under, risk of felony or perjury that I do not recall the events of that evening in 1982. I don't recall. If you didn't assault someone, if you didn't rape someone, if you didn't try to assault someone, you usually have a stronger memory than, I don't recall those events. So he put in writing under threat of perjury that he doesn't recall those events. That is an extremely lawyered up statement that his lawyer wrote for him that basically hedges. I just don't recall. I can't say yes. I can't say no. I don't recall. And he also says that he has for a long time suffered with, thank you, Kirk, for the $9.99 in the super chat. And by the way, guys, we are doing a GoFundMe for Status Coup, the media network that we're trying to launch next month. So definitely get there. That is all so we could get it back in the field, Ty and me. I actually just had a long phone call about getting back in the field to cover the Keystone Pipeline. That's about to start construction. But Mark Judge in a letter said he has chronic depression and anxiety, and he is also a recovering alcoholic, and he does not want to come in and actually answer questions because he has severe depression, anxiety, and he's a recovering alcoholic, and that would presumably trigger his anxiety, depression, who knows. Well, I can tell you this. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I suffer from depression, okay? I take medication every morning. I've had 2 episodes in my life of severe depression. If I'm being totally transparent, one of them I was hospitalized. I don't talk about this, I have never really talked about this publicly. It's not something I'm ashamed to admit. I went to get mental health treatment because I needed mental health treatment. It was the best thing I ever did in my life. In many ways, it saved my life. This was in 2015. Actually, before I joined the Young Turks, I was hospitalized for mental health treatment. So I know what depression and anxiety is like. That is not an excuse. If you are being accused of being a co-accomplice to an assault, saying you suffer from depression and you suffer from anxiety, and therefore you will not or you cannot answer questions by the FBI, I'm sorry, depression and anxiety or being a recovering alcoholic is not an excuse. Period. End of story. We all have our demons. There's many people with depression in this country, many people with anxiety in this country. It's a serious, serious illness. I'm not minimizing that. But if you're accused or if you are the only eyewitness that can shed light on whether a nominee or anyone, forget Brett Kavanaugh for a second, if you are the only witness that can shed light on whether this did happen the way Christine Ford said it happened or didn't happen the way she said it can happen, we can't we can't ask him questions because he's too delicate, which I thought was ironic because Ted Cruz running for re-election in Texas against Beto O'Rourke, Ted Cruz says, oh, he does this little thing that Mark Judge already sent in a statement under threat of perjury, and he suffers from depression, and he suffers from anxiety, and he's been a recovering alcoholic, so we need to be sympathetic to that. Do you think for a second if Ted Cruz or any of these Republicans using this line that Mark Judge is just too delicate, we cannot ruffle with Mark Judge's personal demons, do you think if it came out that Ted Cruz's opponent, Beto O'Rourke, to be clear, I'm not saying this, just a hypothetical, do you think if it came out that Beto O'Rourke was accused of sexual assault, him and a friend, do you think if Beto O'Rourke's friend said, I won't answer questions about this, that Ted Cruz would be saying, oh, well, his friend suffers from depression and suffers from anxiety, so, if Beto's friend says he doesn't remember, then I give Beto the benefit of the doubt. Give me a fucking break. Oop, there goes my monetization. I cursed. Oh well. So Ted Cruz was a phony, and I'm sorry. I feel for you if Mark Judge really has depression and anxiety. I've suffered from both. But at the end of the day, if you are being accused of pinning a young teenage or any woman down, pinning her down as she fights you off, of drunkenly trying to basically rape her, the two things are unacceptable. Number one, for you to say, I don't recall. Well, I have memory issues, but I can tell you what, I would recall that. And my depression and anxiety would not prohibit me. If the FBI called me, do you think if the FBI called me or you, we'd be able to say, hey, you know, we have anxiety and we suffer from depression and, you know, we're recovering alcoholics. So we'll send you a letter, but we're not coming in. Oh my God, how fast would you be rounded up and thrown in a back room for FBI investigation? And by the way, hermeneutic, I found CBD is effective in reducing anxiety. Totally agree. I've been using it more and more, also for my digestive issues. So, but I digress. So what I find so incredible, if you watch the Senate Judiciary Committee hearing this morning, you have all of these senators on the Republican side talking about the process, how the Democrats waited till the last minute to come out with this Christine Ford allegation, and it's totally a political hit job, and blah, 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 blah. Did these same Republicans care about a little process called the Constitution when it came to Merrick Garland? And let me be clear, I think Merrick Garland would have been a terrible Supreme Court judge. He was a pro-business, pro-corrupt corporate money, endless money, and Obama, because Obama was a fake progressive, picked a centrist to moderate right Republican judge. With that said, Obama was the elected president. Constitution allows presidents to nominate judges, and the Senate is supposed to hold hearings for that judge. So Senate Republicans and Mr. Ted Cruz, who walks around with his little Constitution that he jerks off to every day, they didn't seem to care about the process when it came to Obama's Supreme Court nominee. But now we're sitting here for hours and days talking about the process is flawed and we can't trust the process. And the Democrats are just trying to block Trump's nominee until they could win the House or win the Senate. Well, you know what? Even if they are, the Republican Party has lost the moral high ground. They don't get to talk about process. So what it comes down to, and as you saw in Kavanaugh's hearing yesterday, he was asked very directly, would you be open and would you call for an FBI investigation? Well, honestly, even if you're innocent of something, right? Even if you're innocent of something, you could be a little nervous of an FBI investigation. Like, wow, you know, that's very scary. People, you know, investigators are going to be asking all these people about me. I mean, it could be intimidating to you. But if you are actually innocent of attempting to sexually assault a woman, I would call for an FBI investigation, 100%. If it were me, if it were most men, I can't speak for all men, but if most men were completely innocent, if you weren't even there, as Brett Kavanaugh says, remember, he's saying he wasn't even there. He says he wasn't at this party. So if you truly are saying this, why wouldn't you say, yes, have an FBI investigation? And for the Republicans who have been trolling me on Twitter about they've already had 6 FBI investigations, they did FBI investigations into politicians, into public servants, are overall background investigations. Checking your criminal record, checking your psychological records, checking if you've, have any issues with, have you had any problems with alcoholism? They're not investigation into specific charges against someone. So when they say there's been 6 FBI investigations, that was for an overall criminal and psychological evaluation. There was not accusations at the time of those FBI investigations from Christine Ford or Deborah Ramirez or Jill, I cannot pronounce her last name. So it's all nonsense. It's all nonsense that there's been 6 FBI investigations. There is not. Chip, thanks for the $10. Says, Jordan, I hope you can investigate the Keystone Pipeline. Your hope is my command. And I just put the GoFundMe link in the description box for this video. We have a GoFundMe going. We're almost at $5,000. I'd love to get there by the end of today. Definitely chip in if you can. It is specifically for in-the-field reporting. Ty and I are going to be getting back into the field. We want to be out in the field and stay out in the field to cover the stories no one else is covering, including the Keystone Pipeline, which is all of us already. Construction is beginning in Montana of the Keystone Pipeline. Remember, Keystone was blocked in 2013, but Trump reapproved it. I want to get out there. There's nobody out there right now covering this. Help me do it. This is just the initial GoFundMe as we launch Status Coup. And if you don't know about Status Coup, where you been? That's the media network that we are soon to launch. The website is just about ready. So, there has been no FBI investigation into the allegations against Brett Kavanaugh. And obviously, I don't care if you're a Democrat, I don't care if you're a Republican, I don't care if you're progressive, I don't care if you're conservative. Common sense would dictate if a woman is making an accusation that 2 men pinned her down and essentially tried to force her into sexual intercourse, it would make sense, common sense, for both men to be interrogated, both men to be questioned. And I'm just saying men, you know, in rare cases, women are accused. But in this case, I'm talking about men. The fact that Brett Kavanaugh could not answer directly, do you support an FBI investigation, to me is disqualifying. And by the way, to me, Brett Kavanaugh should not be on the Supreme Court, period, end of story, aside from these sexual assault allegations. He is a dangerous, dangerous thinker, and statements he's made in the past indicate that he does not see Roe versus Wade as a closed subject legally. So you could potentially be having someone that, even in high school, the other charge is when he was in college, had potentially extremely violent tendencies against women as the deciding vote to overturn Roe versus Wade. So the Republicans who are saying, we don't want to, this has gone on long enough. We gave Christine Ford her day to testify, but now we have to vote. We're not going to allow for an investigation. The Republican Party is basically signaling to you, the people, and share this video. Well, Supreme Court, lifetime appointment, keeping the House and the Senate, we'll go with the Supreme Court. Because they know there's a likelihood they're going to lose either the House. Right now, it looks like they're going to lose the House of Representatives, and they might potentially lose the Senate too. And by the way, let's not forget, all of these Republicans, the majority of them, are deathly, deathly afraid of President Trump, the orange orangutan. They are deathly afraid. So if any of them follow the courage of their convictions and vote no on Brett Kavanaugh, they sure as hell know they're going to make an enemy of President Trump and his base for the rest of their time. Now it comes down to, because at the end of the day, I do not think, so how it was left was Flake said, I'm going to vote yes to get this out of the committee to the Senate floor, but I am doing that based on that I think there needs to be an investigation. I don't think it came off clear whether that meant if there is no investigation that he won't vote on the final Senate floor vote. I think he was clear. I think he was clear that he thinks there should be a 1-week investigation. But I got to tell you the truth, folks. I see a 10 percentage chance. It comes down to Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump. Do you have any thought or even, do you think there's a chance in hell that Turkey Neck himself, Mitch McConnell, is going to allow an FBI investigation into Brett Kavanaugh for a day, much less a week? Why would he allow that? when in a span of 2 to 3 days, 2 other women came forward accusing him. If Mitch McConnell allows a 1-week investigation, he knows there's a good chance there might be more women that come out against him. You might see protests in the street. We saw protests at the Capitol today from women and men trying to stop this nomination. I see a 10% chance, and that's being generous, that Mitch McConnell is going to say, yes, we will have a 1-week FBI investigation. And by the way, will that FBI investigation demand and subpoena Mark Judge to come in? I don't want to hear about Mark Judge's depression, anxiety, and recovering alcoholism. I have depression and anxiety. I don't have alcoholism. But if it were me, my ass would be hauled in. We all have our issues, whether it's mental health, physical health, whatever. But if you are being accused of being a co-conspirator, an accomplice of sexual assault, you don't get to just send in a letter and say, I don't recall.